Justin, myself, and Brian all saw The Hobbit. Scott is holding off because he's going on a family adventure with about 47 people, apparently. So here's what the story is about if you haven't read the book, which a lot of people haven't read the book. And you can listen to our Hobbit spoiler cast, where we'll go way more into detail. So we'll try to keep this review, somewhat civilized. Guys, let's not go for 45 minutes. As you remember from Lord of the Rings, Bilbo Baggins was the previous owner of that damn one ring to rule them all. This is the prequel to that story, and it's all Bilbo's story. So Frodo does pop up, but it's not Frodo's story. It's Bilbo Baggins' story. Takes place 60 years before the Rings trilogy. Bilbo is recruited to join a small posse of dwarves led by Lord Thorin to reclaim... You don't like the word posse?
I like it, but I never really would have thought of that in reference to dwarves.
All they were missing were gold chains, man. That's it. To reclaim their long ago vanquished kingdom and gold from the monstrous dragon Smaug. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Thank you. Every time I get it right, I feel better about myself. They run into trolls, goblins, and a shadowy precursor of things to come. The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey is the first of 3 films to tell this 350-page story, which begs the question, was there enough story to justify 3 hours for only the first part of this one, Brian?
I think it was a bit long. They probably could have trimmed it down about 20 minutes. Easily 20 minutes, probably gotten away with a little bit more. But again, this really does set, if it falls in fashion with the other trilogy, I believe, it should set things up for some pretty good stories down the road and pretty good action and everything. So I'm looking at it as it just a bit like almost a 3-hour setup and just kind of rolling with it like that. But yeah, it probably could have been done about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes shorter.
How about you, Justin?
Oh, definitely. I went and saw it again today. So this is my second viewing since it came out. And it just confirmed that there were a lot of places where I think they could have trimmed some things down, especially in the first half of the film. So at a running time of, 2 hours and 40 minutes, give or take, they could easily trim, I think, or at least I say easily trim 30 minutes, I think, from this movie. And it would have been a nice, tightly paced film as opposed to one that has a couple of sags in it. But that said, I like the story they present. I like all the added material that they drew in from other sources. And I like some of the changes that they made to the story. But yeah, all in all, the second viewing, I enjoyed even more than the first.
Now, Justin, you love everything Tolkien and Elvish, and you often carry a personally engraved straw to suck at the proverbial taint of Lord of the Rings. What did you think of the acting in this new trilogy, and was it on par with the previous trilogy?
Unfortunately, because there's 13 dwarves, the group that we're following is a larger group than we had before, and because of that, some of those dwarves, in fact, most of them, just kind of blend into the background. And so you don't get a lot of varied performances like we got in the first ones. Really, this is mostly Bilbo, Gandalf, Oakenshield, and those 3 guys pretty much carry this movie all the way through. And their performances are very strong. Martin Freeman is a fantastic Bilbo Baggins. Watching it again, it confirmed for me that I thought he did a great job all the way through. I did buy him wanting to join this group and head off, even though at first he was really stubbornly against it. Gandalf is just, Ian
McKellen?
Thank you. Jesus, why am I having such a problem with names? Did a great job. I mean, he slipped right into that role like it was a pair of old shoes. But yeah, all in all, I thought the performances were really good. There wasn't anybody that I kind of, wrinkle my nose up at thinking that they did a poor job. Everybody involved, amazing work.
I thought Bilbo was a little too mugging for the camera the first hour.
No, I loved it. I loved that persnicketyness that he brought up. That whole good day and, that exchange he had with Gandalf, and just, it kind of showed this uptight guy. I kind of liked it. I really, really liked it.
I think he was over the top. The first hour, he was way over the top. But after that, I think he settled into the role. Gandalf livens the movie up every second he's on screen. He really does. I mean, just like with the original trilogy, when Gandalf shows up, you're like, yes. I don't know why. You just are. And I will never be able to say this enough, how much Andy Serkis's Gollum makes or breaks these movies. For me, just when he shows up, anytime it seems like in the series itself, the original series as well, whenever the movie hits a lull and starts to maybe start slowing down a little bit, like, oh God, we got to pick this up. If Gollum just shows up and it's magic, bam, the movie's back on top. And he does that in this one too.
And and the magic with him is the CGI is overlaid over his physical, presence, but it's also all those little facial features that you see are his features. Mm-hmm. That his face, he's really acting with his facial expressions, his eyes, his tone of voice, and that's even while I guess the computers read that and translate that into the Gollum character. And so it's not just them saying, okay, I think we should probably raise his eyebrows a little bit more here. It's just him acting. And I just think he's absolutely phenomenal. And he really kind of takes the show and steals it for about that 30 minutes or hour that he is in the movie.
Okay, I personally thought the Defiler and especially the Great Goblin were way too CGI'd for me personally, but the rest of the production was top notch. What did you think, Brian?
I'm of the mindset that the Defiler is way. I really thought he should have been a physical character and not a CGI character. It just I like I use the example in the Spoilercast of the leader of the orcs, the Uruk-hai, that main character with the one with the handprint and stuff. He was a physical person that was dressed up, and I just kind of felt, for the most part, most of these characters are like that, and I don't even remember if any in the original trilogy were full on CGI characters other than Gollum.
It's funny now that I've seen it. The first time I watched the movie, I saw it in that high frame rate. And in the spoiler cast, I talked at length about how much I hated that high frame rate and how it made everything look too real to the point that those things that were props and set pieces looked that much more unreal. A lot of the CGI looked a little too plasticky as well, though it really didn't bother me. Today, watching it in the regular frame rate 3D in the IMAX, everything looked seamless. It looked perfect. The guy playing Agog the Defiler, honestly, and this may just be me blowing smoke up my own ass, I honestly could not have known whether or not he was a CGI creation or somebody that they just put really good makeup on. I can't tell the difference. Or if there is a difference, my mind really doesn't care. I thought he looked fine. Now, of course, the Goblin King down in the Goblin City, of course, that's all CG, and the trolls are all CG. Their appearances don't bother me any more than the other characters, the live action characters. Now, to me, they've gotten so good at texturing, lighting, animation, everything else. It's unless their bodies are so disproportionate, like that Goblin King, from a human's body, I have a hard time telling whether or not it's a real person or somebody that's created by a computer. I think it all looked amazing now that it was in the proper frame rate. Everything had a nice texture to it. Loved it. Looked so much better. Fuck high frame rate.
What did you think, real quick? I know if you want to hear it ad nauseum about what he really thought about the high frame rate, listen to the spoiler cast. But what did you think, just quickly? Do you recommend it for people, or do you say avoid?
No. I mean, if you're going to see it a couple of times and you know you're going to see it a couple of times, go the first time, see it the way you want to see it in the low frame rate, the way it's supposed to be, and then go back and just give it a try. You may like it. There are, strangely enough, some people out there who do like the high frame rate. I'm not one of those people. I wish I'd seen the traditional version first instead of the way I went about it. Knowing now, I wouldn't. But yeah, go see it. You may like it. I just hated it, but there's a lot of things that I don't like that other people do. I'm in that 5%.
Okay, so overall, what's your verdict? Justin?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is the first chapter out of 3, so there's a lot to go. The performances were great. The special effects were great. I love the writing. I love the music. Other than a few slow parts, there's really nothing about this film that I didn't like. Giving it 1 out of 10, I'd give it a solid 8.5. And that's just to leave room for the others to go even higher.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I've kind of nitpicked on a few negative things there, but overall, it's a very entertaining movie. It feels like the other movies. It feels like you're just expanding the universe, so to speak. Like I said, I've nitpicked on a few things, and while I might have been more vocal about those than the stuff that I really like, again, I love this. This was a really fun movie. It's a little slow at the beginning, but overall, I'd give it an 8.5 also.
I like the film very much. I think it's one of those movies where it started off a little slow, could have easily been 30 minutes shorter, so therefore it's just shy of greatness. I mean, I think it could have been a great movie if Peter Jackson would just let himself cut something. He doesn't seem to like to edit. He just like, let it rip, it'll work. But I was worried that if the story could even justify a trilogy, and he didn't let me down there. I think there is plenty of story for 3 movies. I think he could have tightened it up a little bit. But some of the CGI characters are really spotty for me and took me out of the film a bit. The Great Goblin really doesn't work at all for me, and the trolls I thought were just not well done at all. But overall, you kind of lose yourself in it, and I was glad to be back in Middle Earth, and I give the film 8.5 as well.
Oh, wow. I got a question just because I'm going to go see it this weekend. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Justin gave his opinion on 48 frames. Mm-hmm. I know that he's not a big fan of it, but how do you guys feel? Regular, 3D, IMAX?
I think it's one of the few movies I would recommend seeing in IMAX 3D.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was worth it.
But not the
I would say
frames.
that, I guess, if you're going to an IMAX, I would probably just go the extra little mile and probably do it in 3D also. I personally did not gain a whole lot from the 3D experience on a regular screen, mm-hmm. but that was just me. But otherwise, I mean, it was pretty entertaining.
And it's worth IMAX. I mean, it's built for that kind of screen.
Mm-hmm.